character and common sense. We sure lacking common sense in our politics right now. So let's kick it off.
To start this off, we're going to frame it a certain way. You know, I don't think you, like myself, pay taxes for the money to be wasted. I don't think we go to the polls and elect people just so they can get reelected and they can get rich. These are people who are supposed to be working with us. I'm talking about red, blue, purple, green, everybody, all them politicians. They're supposed to be working for us. They're supposed to have our best interests at heart. And they don't. And they are in love with what's going on right now in our society, in our culture. You know, if one side screws up, the other side points it out. Then the screwing up side defends it with some crazy ass thing. And people on both sides just believe what their party says. They don't ever look at what's being said. You know, that's one of the things that I run into here is, I live in California. So I see a lot of different things that go on, and it's predominantly Democrats. And that's not to say it's because they're Democrats. It's because they're politicians. That's the distinction that needs to be made. Red or blue, I mean, both sides are just, they do whatever they want, and then their voting base just defends them. And they defend them with insanity, and they believe the insane defenses. So we're going to look at a few of those different things and what's going on around the country and all that. We're going to start off in California. You know, Newsom blames Trump for the high-speed rail losing $4 billion in a funding cut. But that is not what's true. The records show that California never bought the trains it promised. California High-Speed Rail Authority repeatedly missed key deadlines to buy its trains, a failure that federal officials cited when they pulled $4 billion a year ago. More than a year and a half after the original deadline, the authority still cannot say when it expects to award the contract. That's for the trains. Remember, this was approved back in 2008. We're going on 18 years of them taking our money, giving it to whoever they're giving it to, and they're not even completing a track. They have no track. They say they have track. The only track they have is maintenance tracks. They have pre-existing tracks. Morocco, as we talked about a few weeks ago, already completed theirs because they went with the French experts who said this is the way we should do it, and they did it that way. California thought, oh no, we can do it differently. We don't need to worry about pre-existing infrastructure along the 5 freeway. We could build this thing wherever we want. And they can't because it's no longer LA to San Francisco. It's going to be 171 miles of wasted money going from Merced to Bakersfield because it's going to be easier. And now they're trying to tell us, wow, well, this is cool because it's estimated that high-speed rail will cut the 3-hour train ride in half from Merced to Bakersfield. Okay, that's cool for anybody who needs to go from Merced to Bakersfield, but what about the majority of the state, right? And even that little piddly amount, that useless amount, it's still going to take another 7 years. You know, and so the Trump administration back in July, a year ago, pulled this $4 billion, right? Citing the state's failure to lay any tracks after spending $15 billion over 16 years. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said, federal dollars are not a blank check. They come with promises to deliver results. Purchasing the trains was a key milestone, and federal officials concluded there was no viable path to completing the segment on time, and California had promised to connect major metropolitan cities, but now can only deliver substantially reduced system that may connect to random endpoints. So in other words, you're getting all this money and you're not doing what you said you were going to do with the money. Why should we give you the money? I mean, do you go to the grocery store and pay the grocery store $100 for an empty shopping cart? Because that's what this is. But how is it going to be viewed right now? It's going to be viewed that Kid Copious is shilling for Trump and is only bringing this up because he doesn't like Gavin Newsom. Yeah, and what did Gavin Newsom say? He said it was a political stunt to punish California. So him and Rob Bonta, his little butt buddy, went out there and tried to sue Trump to under this politically motivated attack on high-speed rail. Less than 6 months later, California dropped the lawsuit, and they said, well, we're going to think about it because, the Trump administration is not a reliable partner. Well, what it really means is they're not just going to give us a blank check. However, CBS, who's not exactly right-leaning, right? They found out that the high-speed rail repeatedly missed its own deadlines. They kept setting deadlines. Hey, we're going to buy some trains. We didn't buy the trains. Okay, let's extend the deadline. They kept doing this and doing this and doing this. And then at the last minute, December 1st of 2025, they were supposed to have a board meeting where they were going to discuss what they were going to do before the deadline was missed. They missed the deadline, canceled the board meeting. So that's the whole thing. California is like, we're not going to do what we promised, but give us more money. I mean, do you do that? Do you pay the neighborhood kid $40 to mow your front lawn and he just sits there for 10 minutes and collects his money and leaves? No. These people work for us. We're giving them money. They're supposed to do things with it. Here's another one. The headline was, "Another Day, Another Handout. Gavin Newsom's EV rebate insults Californians." Yeah, he's going to give $3,500 to first-time EV buyers, as long as they're not Teslas. He's going to spend $135 million for instant discounts for people who can afford these more expensive cars. It's going to shave a few grand off sticker prices for certain cars while housing stays unaffordable, homelessness festers, wildfires rage, roads crumble, and everyday costs keep climbing. Of course, the defenders, you look in the comment section, and the defenders are all talking about, well, we paid for Bush's war in the Middle East for oil, and we're paying for Trump's war. No. No, that's the federal government, okay? That's a deflection. He's going to take our money and give it to a few people so that they can buy a new car, because that's his agenda. You know, federal taxes are one thing, okay? But state taxes hit closer to home. Ask yourself, what does the state do for you? And while you're pondering the question, what does the state do for you? Remember, sales tax and property taxes pay for the vital infrastructure that you use on a daily basis. Most of the roads that you're on, not the freeways, but the roads, are managed by the local municipalities. Whoa, big word for me. You know, schools, police, fire, that's paid out of city taxes, property taxes, and so on. This EV rebate by Gavin Newsom pays cash to one person for making a purchase that fits into an agenda. While we're on the subject of just pissing money down a rat hole, LA's highest paid homeless helper CEO lives in Hawaii. Yeah. She earned more than $1.6 million in the last couple of years. Living in Hawaii, managing the homeless crisis in Los Angeles. And of course, she defends it saying, well, my salary wasn't $900,000 in 2023, and my salary wasn't $700,000 in 2024. That was, I was cashing out vacation time. What? You have that much vacation time? She runs this nonprofit, 1736 Family Crisis Center. It gets about $15 million in taxpayer funds. She's running one of the smaller ones in LA, but yet she almost made $1 million in 2023. That's a hell of a nonprofit. See, nonprofit means the company doesn't make money, but the employees, oh yeah. And oh no, my salary didn't jump. This was all vacation time. This guy, Brian Mindendorf, he's from Ohio State. He's an expert in nonprofit accounting. The bigger question is, he asks, was it appropriate for a person to be able to accrue that much money and suddenly get paid out? Another person here, Lori Styron of the nonprofit watchdog Charity Watch, said the payout was highly unusual. Most of these nonprofits have a cap on your vacation. But not for her, not for Adelhoff. Carol Adelhoff. Yeah. White lady, white privilege, all across the board. And we're going to pay her $1.6 million to mismanage. Yes, mismanage this. Now, some of their work, of course, I agree with it. Violent shelters, crisis hotlines, homeless programs, domestic violence shelters. Those are good things, and people should be paid. Her base salary is $400K, though. That's not exactly charity. $400K. It's a lot of money. That's a lot of money when we're not seeing any results. Some of her things, I'll grant you, they do show results. The shelters, things like that. Those are very important, very vital. But does she need all that money? I don't think so. You want to see another thing going on here in LA that talks about, these are the people who work for us. LA County landlords must keep rentals below a certain temperature starting in 2027. So they have to keep their units at 82 degrees or lower. All right? This is, of course, one of those LA City Council things. And here's the really interesting rub about this. They're forcing landlords to provide fans, ventilation, and if that doesn't work, AC units. But who's going to pay the electric bill? So now you have renters who have to pay higher electric bills. If they don't pay their higher electric bills, they can then sue their landlord for not keeping the unit cool enough. Do we really elect leaders to make us suffer? You see how this works. This is a double-edged sword. Now, I talk a lot about California. That's where I live. That's where I see the mismanagement in person. I see it up close and personal. Oh boy, do I see the problem with the homeless here. The random crazies that I see out on the streets. It's shocking. And it's not just California. There are other states that are making lots of mistakes, and we're going to get into a few of them. One of the ones that I think is probably the most abhorrent is these flock cameras. Now, I'm all for that, okay? If you have the ability to go back and look at video and to track cars and track people's movement, you can solve crimes. You can prevent crimes. You make crime harder on the criminals. So I am for that. But Texas is over there using their cameras to try to catch people coming back from Oklahoma with weed or catch people leaving the state for abortions. Is that really what you want your tax dollars going towards? Weed and abortions? I mean, we have much bigger problems here. The Democrats now can attack me and say, oh, well, you're going after Texas because you're a liberal. No, I'm not. I'm purple. Hi, I'm purple. I'm just showing how the people we elect, we put them in office, we give them money, and we give them a job. We give them a directive. And then they just go off the rails, and all of their defenders continue to vote for them. So this took place in Arizona, this next story here. This person installed one of those Tesla power walls. That's great. Look, I've said it before. I believe that electric vehicles were designed so rich people didn't have to go to gas stations, okay? But anyhow, this guy put his battery outside, and now because it gets so hot, the battery can't even power a small AC unit. Because when these batteries get warm, they're less efficient. But to put it inside, you need to have smoke detectors, suppression equipment, and protection from vehicle impact. These are dangerous things, these giant batteries. And that's what I want to talk about here. I'm for the environment. I love blue skies. I love bunny rabbits. I love birds. I feed the birds. I watch wildlife wherever I go. Okay, I'm a twitcher, as they would say in England. I'm a bird watcher. I don't want our environment destroyed. Okay? But EVs, in my opinion, are not the way to go. And it's scary to think that even if it's just a very simple thing, like some people say, to install a smoke detector in your garage, okay, or a suppression system, that's dangerous. When right out the gate, think about how long we've had these motorized scooters and these so-called e-bikes that are really just motorcycles. And it's taken us years to get around to passing the laws. But when it comes to these batteries, they're on top of it right away. I'm seeing it in my own profession, dealing with fire alarms. People are waking up to the fact that these types of batteries, these lithium batteries, are dangerous, that they can self-implode. They don't require outside influence. They can just spark up and fuel the fire. Okay, dangerous. Is that the way to go? Is my stance simply saying, I don't like EV batteries because liberals like EV batteries? No, I don't like EV batteries because they're dangerous. And I know full well the danger of batteries and electrical systems, and I worry about that. We don't have the infrastructure. Once again, this is like the train. We want money from the government, and we haven't bought trains. We haven't laid any real tracks. We've diverted from connecting major metropolitan areas to connecting two random cities. And the government just continues on, and none of us have the courage to stand up to it. We were talking about how people just defend. They never actually look at it. Mandami hits back at insane MAGA claim that grocery rules prove need for Trump voter ID. Of course, the New York officials say, you don't need any ID. No, you don't need any ID. No, not at all. All you need is like a library card, as one of Mandami's spokespersons, Dora Pekka, said. The only card we have is a voluntary savings card like they have at a typical supermarket. Well, no, because they need to have a system so that people will not hoard groceries, buy groceries for resale, or come in from other states to buy the cheap groceries. So what's that going to require? ID. And as this article, because this article was sort of written by a left-leaning paper, said voting as a non-citizen is already illegal, and states use a range of methods to verify someone's legal eligibility to vote, including ID. People say that Trump's experts, you don't name anybody, you don't give any sources, but experts claim that the Save America Act will stop millions of people from voting, given that about 21 million people lack ready access to necessary proof documents such as passports and birth certificates. Okay, are we talking about people who are in the country illegally or people who are temporarily in the country on a visa? I mean, it's just this pure fucking fantasy. All right, right now, any liberal that's listening to me goes, oh, you're just stumping for Trump. No, I'm not. Think about it for a second. Do you really think in this fantasy world that they're concocting that people are going out to get ID just to vote? You need ID for lots of things. We were talking about a club card. You need to provide some sort of identification, right? Like a phone number or something like that, something that people can verify you're real. A library card. Oh, wait a minute. A driver's license. Oh, what? To get into a club, to purchase alcohol, to purchase cigarettes, to purchase all kinds of things. You need to be able to show ID. What, you think you could just walk into a dealership and get a car loan without any ID? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And the other argument that I hear from the left a lot is, well, non-citizen voting is not really big. That's right. It's not. Just like that tiny little tumor inside your fucking brain is not very big right now. Oh, it's only the size of a pea. No. You have to nip it in the bud. You have to get it out while it's still small. And that's why I support voter ID. All right. So let's move to Kentucky. So in Kentucky, oh, this is a crazy one. A $1 billion Kentucky battery plant went bankrupt, got fined by the Department of Justice, and is now owned by the contractor it never paid. Now, this isn't about fraud. This is about the market moving too quickly. They were going to put in all this money for this recycling of these batteries, which actually made a lot of sense. It would help recover some of the harder to find elements. But the problem is Washington, this was done under Biden, Washington tried to will an entire industry into existence with grant money, and the industry showed up late because EV sales tanked. All of a sudden, we didn't need as much battery recycling as we thought, right? So they kind of, this was from the Infrastructure Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, right? The EV adoption did not climb as fast as people wanted. And so they didn't pay people in the factory, whatever. The thing's going to get built, but they don't know what it's going to get used for. The main point of this is 5 years from now, nobody will remember the settlement figure. What they might remember if this plant ever gets finished is that it took a bankruptcy, a canceled federal grant, and a construction company deciding to become a factory owner just to salvage a fraction of the battery recycling capacity America was promised. That's not a fraud story. It's a supply chain learning the hard way what happens when policy moves faster than the market is trying to create. That's what we're seeing with EVs here in California. I didn't vote for Gavin, but I did not elect political figures to go in and push their agenda and waste my money. We need them to run the state. We need them to look at what are the priorities. In California, our priority is water. In many parts of this country and the world, as we're seeing, water is the number one priority. And what are we going to do here in Utah? 500 megawatt Utah data center wants to dump a quarter of a million gallons of wastewater into the Great Salt Lake daily. A quarter of them every 4 days, 1 million gallons. What they're doing is they're taking water out of the lake and they're desalinating it. And then they're taking the heavily laden water and pumping it back in. Right now, the Great Salt Lake is at historic lows. The floor of the lake contains arsenic, which is now being blown up into the air. And they want to pump more water out of it. Just in case you don't know, and I didn't know, I had to look it up. This data center in Utah is going to use the power that could power 350,000 to 500,000 homes over the course of a year. Yeah, 500,000 homes could be powered by this one data center. And all they're going to do is they're just going to use reverse osmosis, and they're going to send the wastewater downstream to the wetlands. And they're allowing it. Here at Google is going to pave over 4.25 acres of forested wetland outside of Fort Wayne, Indiana. Google, who sits there and promotes all of these idealistic political viewpoints, and they talk about, the environment. Then they're literally going to pave over wetlands to build another data center. And of course, what's the argument for these data centers? Oh, it provides jobs. No. During the construction phase, it provides jobs. The programmers, the people who run the actual computers, a lot of those jobs are outsourced to other countries like India. These data centers provide less jobs per square foot than a Walmart. Because remember, a Walmart has the temporary construction jobs, but then it has long-lasting jobs after that. They estimate that most of these data centers will run on somewhere upwards of 15 people. The computers do all the work. You just have a few techs there, some janitorial people, maybe a little bit of management, some supervisors and things like that. Oh, I'm attacking the data centers because what? I don't like Trump because Trump loves data centers. No, I'm attacking them because we're going about it the wrong way. We're putting them in areas that are already fragile, already don't have enough water. Why aren't we looking for those places? Why aren't we looking for reclaiming land that was used for something else, mining, electrical facilities, I've seen that in my job where I used to do a major bank. I handled all their locations. And they had almost an entire floor dedicated to cooling their computers back in the 90s, 80s, 2000s. Computers don't need to be that big anymore. They don't need the room. But the room just sits empty. And that's what we're doing right now. Google is going to pave over a wetland instead of trying to find somewhere that has more water and is not a protected land. They are going to pave over federally protected land. And then they're going to harp at us about what we're supposed to do. I understand we need data centers, but let's go about it the right way. And that's what I was talking about at the beginning. When I say that we're going about data centers the wrong way, I am not opposing one political party or supporting another political party. I'm pointing out that we're going about it the wrong way, that we're putting them in suspect areas. We're putting them in areas where residents are being forced to pay higher energy bills while listening to the constant droning of the cooling towers. When I attacked the high-speed rail, it's not because I don't like Gavin Newsom. And I hate Gavin Newsom, straight up. I'm not going to make no bones about it. But the problem is what we voted for in 2008 is not what we're going to get. And we have more pressing needs. We need to capture every drop of rain. We need to come up with a system that does that. We need to come up with electrical infrastructure. We need to find ways of actually lowering the cost, which I think would start with the government. The government is one of the reasons why we have the costs we have. They have forced an agenda on to businesses, trucking, things like that, that drive up the cost. It's not because I don't like Democrats, which I don't. Most of them are seemingly going insane lately because they're just embracing the DSA, and that's a whole nother subject. I bring it up because they're going about it wrong. You want to see something else on the flip side? I think Trump has gone about the war in Iran completely wrong. I would have seized Cargo Island. I would have kept up a sustained. I would stop with this on and off again war for negotiation. Iran needs to be dealt with, not threatened to come to the table and negotiate. They need to be flattened. We should have stockpiled plenty of ammunition. And then we should have gone in with a very clear, concise plan of ending the Islamic rule in that country. I have nothing against the people of Iran, the Persians. I have nothing against them. I want them to live free. I want them to live as a partner with the United States, much like some of our other allies over there. That's what I would like to see. Does that mean I hate Trump? Well, wait, I voted for him. I just think he's doing this wrong. And again, it's the same fallback position. I did not elect Trump to blow our money doing things wrong. Would you allow an employee to do that? That's what we need to start looking at as a country. You know, when I talk to young people, they all think third parties are a waste of time. They're only a waste of time if we don't all coalesce behind one. That's why we need something like Purple State. Something that takes the good ideas of both sides. Something that's willing to accept that we were wrong. We went about it wrong. I mean, why is it that California government just can't admit that they've mishandled the homelessness, that they've mishandled the bullet train, that their focus has been on the wrong things? Why? Why can't we do that? Well, because the Democrats have a one-party system here in California. Nobody will stand up against them. But we should be standing up to them and saying, look, Gavin, you have some noble ideas, some pie-in-the-sky ideas. That would be great if they would work. But the time isn't right now. That's what you have to say. You know, I'm not telling you that because you oppose the high-speed rail, you should vote for Trump. No, we need to get back to voting for the best employee because they are employees. The left loves to have no king's parade, but then they elect kings. This is ridiculous. This is, again, I'm not saying that because I'm attacking the Democrats. I'm saying that because that's what they do. Their voting base loves to get out and protest, no kings, no kings, no kings. And then they elect somebody like Gavin Newsom who wants to just take hundreds of millions of dollars and piss it down rat holes, EV rebates, the train, the homeless. What are we seeing for our money? Keeping in mind that most of what we see around us is funded by state and by city sales taxes and property taxes, not state money. A lot of us don't see any state money. That's fine. That's the way it should be. I don't really need the state making all of these frickin' decisions. We should be working together as a country and finding these solutions. And that's why they love the division that we have in this country. It allows them, both red or blue, to get away with bullshit. Period. I'm Kid Copious. I'm Purple State Party, and so are you. Love one another and keep on grinding. And you know, when the pressure just gets too much and the insanity feels like it's overwhelming, drop the needle and dance it out.
Ba-da-dong.